mean, I don't think it. I haven't read.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Committee on Administration for the County of Dunn. I'm Vaughn Hedlund, Committee Chair. We're meeting here in room 54 of the County Administration Building here in Menominee, Wisconsin. Welcome all to us here and welcome all who are watching or attending online. First order of business is, according to us, is our call of the roll. And we have Mr. Bauer and myself as far as committee members here and present. We also have Supervisor Leno online and anticipating Supervisor Zons to be joining us one way or the other. Supervisor Wilson will not be here today. He is tied up in business activities and is asked to be excused. So he is excused from the meeting. Next is approval of the minutes from our last meeting of this committee, and that was in October 26th of this year. Anyone care to make a motion, or are there any corrections that need to be made?
So
all right.
moved.
All right. Is that okay? It was seconded, Tim?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Motion made by Mr. Bauer, seconded by Supervisor Leonardo to accept the minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, minutes are accepted. Public comment? Do we have anyone here in the audience participate? Do not anyone online participating for public comment?
I don't believe so.
Okay, none. We'll move forward. Our next item, item 5 on our agenda for today is staff reports. The supervisors and our county manager and such receive these reports in writing and put on line for us supervisors ahead of time. They're all nicely written reports from all the departments, including budget updates and activity updates from all the departments. We hear from the committee administration hears from Human Resources, Criminal Justice Collaboration, the Treasurer, IT Department, and the County Clerk. Any of those department managers, do you have any of the supervisors have any questions for them on their reports? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Supervisor Bauer.
Yeah, on your segregation of duties. They're trying to, I'm trying to speak into this here. What is the control the lifespan of the transaction? You know, so one person would have complete control. I don't know. Did you have that before or something, or is that? Sorry.
I'm gonna sit down next
There
to
you
you
go.
so I can
Yeah.
take a glance at it. Still, what you're looking at.
What that all means, if you want to read it quick. You explain.
Oh, yes. So I believe we had auditors that came in and they did a presentation for our 2022 audit. And one of the reports that they provided us, they identified 4 areas that were considered a finding that we need to work on. And I've highlighted here for you as to what those were and what are we doing about it, because that's part of that process. So we have one that was segregation of duties. So that means that, as the auditor mentioned, we have one individual that does a lot in SAP. So internal controls are around, for example, just making sure that that person doesn't do a sole person doesn't do the complete transaction from A to Z. Like, for example, I'm not saying that's the case here, but for example, would be that we cannot have one individual that can create a vendor, that can pay a vendor, and transfer bank money, because that's a big no-no. We need to separate those duties to create check and balances. So the person that's paying an invoice should not have access to create a vendor. And the person that perhaps is, paying a vendor would not necessarily have an access to transfer the funds to pay vendor. Does that help?
Yes,
So-
I'm kind of, because I knew that one person can have complete control, and I didn't know how that.
That's
happened.
right.
Okay,
That's
so-
right. And in part of the 2024 budget process, we've asked to take two existing positions and make them into a management position. And part of that reason was due to that audit fundings, because in order for me to delegate some of those duties require a management role.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Beata. Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
All right. Any other questions by any of the other department heads, by any of the supervisors?
Jen Lee, I just had one.
Go ahead.
No, I just think you can, what is the percent that the county matches on funds, on employee funds going into the 401s and stuff? Is there a matching fund, right? Yeah. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
just that, yeah, to know.
Yeah, it actually varies by what they do. So,
So I just want to clarify, are you looking to clarify the contribution
Yeah,
for
contributions.
Wisconsin retirement system?
Yep.
Okay, so that does change slightly from year to year. And actually on the top of my head for 2023, I believe it is 6.75. 6.7. So employees that are categorized as general employees under WRS contribute the 6.5 of their earnings, and then the county also matches that at 6.5%. So there are technically 3 other categories, but 2 other categories applicable to county employees. The other main one being protected employees, and those are law enforcement employees that actually the county contributes the full amount if they were hired prior to 2011, prior to Act 10, basically. So there is a small group that the county pays the full portion for. And I could keep going if you have more
No,
questions or if
the
you want me
The
to.
reason I brought up the
clarify
question,
something.
on this, jailer, the new jailers and stuff
Yes.
can go up to 6.9 to 14.3. We don't cover 14.3, do we?
So we don't, but for that small group of employees, like I said, that were grandfathered in prior to Act 10, we do contribute a full amount for them. With Act 4, the changes with that apply to specifically to the jailer employees. There has been, I would say, since Act 10, some efforts to include the jailer positions back in with protected status. Act 4 is in an effort to do that. However, it differs from other previously protected employees in that the employee would be picking up that additional contribution. It's quite complicated. It's effective January 1 of 2024. However, the employee has until March to basically opt out of that. So basically, effective January 1, they would be considered in protected status. However, they would have to cover that additional contribution. And if it's an existing employee, that's at a post-tax calculation on their paychecks. So that is quite a swing on contributions being taken out of each paycheck. So that is why they have, that the first part of the year to make the decision. And once they make the decision, it is permanent with employment at Dunn County. So a lot going on with that. I think there's even still a lot of details that the state is working out with the employee trust funds, which is who manages the Wisconsin retirement system. There's still a lot of unanswered questions that they're working through, even on December 28th. We're only a few days away from the effective date. So we held some informational sessions to communicate what we know about it so far to the impacted employees, and we'll continue to work closely with them throughout the first few months of 2024, just to help them make sure that they're making the decision that is best for them and who they can reach out to help determine that. So currently with the general category, the county would match at that 6.9% for the most part.
So
Maybe
Jenna,
more than you asked for.
So the jailers currently are in the general category.
Yes,
So they're paying half, the county's paying half towards their WRS contribution,
correct.
right?
Correct.
And the new option would allow them to move to protected status, pay a higher rate and pay their full. No, I don't want to speak,
Mhm.
right? They
So the,
pay, so right now they're at roughly 6.5%.
mhm.
It would go up.
It would go up because, well, naturally, WRS rates are going up for next year. The county would still contribute. It's going to 6.9% for 2024. The county will still contribute that amount for employees, but then they would have basically the option to contribute more to be considered in protected status. Protective status allows an employee to retire sooner. So there's a balancing that, depending on where they're at, if they're close to retirement or if they have many years left for retirement, as far as what would factor into that decision for them. But there would be potential benefits to them not opting out of that protective status. It, in a nutshell, is not intended to be an additional cost to the county. It is going to be an additional cost to those employees that don't opt out.
And they would
yep.
also pay, right now, their contribution comes out pre-tax. And after, if they chose to opt in or stay in, they would, their entire half plus is post-tax.
That's correct, which is also a big change. There was some IRS language that was interpreted to be applied that way. So
And you kind of answered my other question on that don't affect your budget then, it comes out of state.
it doesn't impact
Right.
county funding, but it does significantly impact that group of employees. So it is an important decision for them to be making, and also permanent. So if they decide they don't want to opt out of it, then that's permanent. They're not able to opt out later. So doing the best we can to get as much of the information out there. Our payroll specialist and one of our HR advisors held the info sessions. They would probably speak a lot more intelligently and clearly than I am right now. And I'd be happy to share the PowerPoint with this committee if you would like to see that at a future meeting.
That's up to our chair, but I think you answered my
Sure.
questions
Yeah, of
well.
course.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thanks a lot. Good questions, and like I said, it's, I can see it varying, but thank you. I didn't understand it all either. Yeah.
One quick question, if I
Oh,
may.
yeah, Tim.
Go
ahead.
When we do have a final package on the first of the year, will we notified what the details are on that?
Yes. There is supposed to be instructions for employers that will be released by the Employee Trust Fund agency that we're still waiting for.
All right,
And
just
I
so
can
we know we're
share that.
dealing with the DN.
Yep,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Anything else? Thanks, Jenna. All right. Any other questions for any of the departments? Do the department heads that are here or online care to add anything different or new to what they have in their written presentations? Okay, none? Fine. Thank you all. Thanks for the questions getting answered. Next, consideration of actions taken by this committee. Approval of 3 months, October, November, December, vouchers that have been presented in our packet. Are there any questions about those vouchers in terms of who it was we were paying or why we were paying them? Anyone have any questions on the vouchers? Okay, go ahead, Tim.
All right, I have a few here, if I may. On 1110, CJC, Mr. Charlie Bradley, for $1,600, and it states for support. And I was kind of wondering, support for what?
Yes, this is Sarah Benedict here on virtually. So that is for our law enforcement deflection and diversion program. That was an individual that law enforcement have had a lot of contact with. That was not the individual, it's a participant in one of the programs. And we have a sizable amount of money in the grant this year, specifically for housing and to relieve homelessness. So the $1,600 went to the owner of Evergreen Estates, which is a mobile home park in the community. That is a security deposit and first month's rent for a place for somebody to live. And that's really the only option that was available in town. And then with our housing assistance, we make sure that they're checking in, individuals are checking other sources of assistance first. And if there's nothing else available, then we're able to help out. Did that
Okay.
address your question?
Yes, I do. I've got another one here for financial services, a maintenance contract. I think the name is Stephen Corbell, for $4,225.
So that is our, so there are two gentlemen who are retired county finance people who were recommended to us by our auditor to help us to both address some of the issues that were raised in the audit in the deficiencies, as well as to help us to structure our highway financial books the way that they should be. And so Steve is the lead person who receives that money.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. And then also, again, in 1110, a capital improvement project, Raycom. There was a date on there of 2019 for $3,648.50. I was just kind of wondering, that's almost 5 years ago. What's up with that?
That one I will have to check on.
Okay. Anyway, but the date what caught my eye was the 2019. And another one on 1240. Some legal expense for Richard Dufault for 3837. I just noticed when I was looking at the rest of the vouchers that he was higher than everybody else. Just wondering why he's getting more and the other folks aren't.
I don't know, but I will check.
Okay. All right. And then on 1270, vehicle repair, Bernhard Ben for $3,081.32.
Ben is in BEN.
Yeah, BENN.
Okay. And can you give me the dollar amount again?
What's
Can you give me the dollar amount again?
dollar amount $3,081.32.
All right, I will check.
All right. Also on 1270, TEK 84 Incorporated for the jail for $10,900, a maintenance contract, and just kind of wondering what would that be for?
Did you say TDK?
TEK,
TEK.
84
Yeah.
Incorporated.
Okay. Okay. I will check.
All right. I think the next one would be 1410 youth hockey, water, heat and lights for 4626, $4,626. I kind of thought hockey was paying their own.
They are, I believe that's the payment for the fair.
Oh,
For
that's the fair part
the
of
time
it.
when we don't, when we assume responsibility for that month.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
all
there's,
right, that's fine.
I bet it doesn't say, it's kind of below the fair, but it doesn't say fair, probably could say dash fair. But
It
and that's
just
just another
says
account.
youth hockey.
Right, because it's paid because the bill, the actual invoicing from the power company goes to youth hockey, and then we reimburse them for the cost of that month.
Okay. And all right, next one would be 1420. Consulting through UW for $113,148. Just kind of, that seemed like a pretty big figure. And just wondering about that.
Well, no doubt, that is a big amount. I'll check.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of extension, but.
It's
Oh,
what?
we got an answer.
That's all at the educators.
Oh, it's us paying UW Extension for the educators because they're state employees. And we budget and we pay on our side for our part of their service to Dunn County.
Okay. And so like this is a annual payment or?
My guess is looking at the dollar amount, it's probably half of a year. Because I want to say that total is like 260 something.
Okay. Well, just, you know, like I said, hey, that one popped my eyeballs for a second. Only two more left. 1910, Law Enforcement Fitness Club. $300 times 4. Is this personal trainer, injury related, health insurance related? I don't know anything about a law enforcement fitness club in our area.
So I do know that there is a fitness facility in the Judicial Center for law enforcement. I also know that they recently received a grant to do some upgrades to that. The only reason I know that is because I happen to see it on Facebook. And so but I'll double check for sure. My guess is it might have been
Well, I
payment.
just saw see 3 entries, 4 entries for $300, and I'm like, it's not a health club membership. Is that a monthly thing? That kind of stuff. If it's for equipment, I certainly understand, but just kind of wondering why it's redundant. And all right, and then last but not least, on 2100 University of Wisconsin repair and maintenance for land and water department. I see 3 entries here, one for 1356, another one for 904, and another one for 452.
All right, I'll check on those as well.
All right, that's all I got.
Thanks, Tim. Mr. Bauer, you have
Yeah,
anything
thank
for us?
you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the answers we got, and I know the answers that are forthcoming. Thank you, Tim, for your questions. Next, accept the vouchers in as presented. Someone with a motion?
So moved.
Okay. All right. Moved by Supervisor Leno and seconded by Supervisor Bauer. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. All right, we can move forward. We have a resolution before us. First one is a resolution to approve out-of-class pay for enterprise resource planning implementation. And that it is an ongoing process that we're taking part of here in the county. We now have a system in place that is called SAP. We have been notified by SAP that they will be completely changing out and revamping their system in the future. And that has prompted us to decide to have a group of our employees to move forward and look at either going forward with SAP or to see if there's a better option. And so a group of workers has been formed to study this, and they are working on it presently. And Chris, you probably have some updates on that.
I do. So, okay, so this is sort of your official formal introduction to ERP replacement and compliments of IT and Krista and Dan. I have a video for you. Hold on a second. Oh, stop. You let them watch the video.
Are you
Well-
going to act it out or what?
No, I was going to say, this video is actually to kind of explain our governance and is the target audience is all of the employees of Dunn
Alright.
County. So it's essentially asking for help from the employees. So,
I can't
That's-
make it play. You have to come out.
all right.
I have it on the back screen.
Still doesn't work.
Oh, that must not work. Oh, I just needed to click it.
We are welcoming in a new ERP. We have some exciting news to share, and it'll shape the future of our organization. We are welcoming in a new ERP system. For years, we've relied on SAP to power our processes, and it served our needs. But now, it's time to take a giant leap forward, and that leap, it includes you. We want you involved in the process. Truth be told, the staff are the ones using the system day to day, not management. We want your help in finding the best, most efficient ERP system. And it may not be a race to the finish line. This is government after all. But we want you to join one of our pit crews. Okay, let's take a step backwards. Not everyone knows what an ERP system is. An enterprise resource planning system, or ERP, is a type of software that organizations use to manage and integrate various aspects of their business processes. Well, the short version of that, it's used to track our finances and our payroll. This project, it's a pretty big deal, and we're going to have lots of folks on board to help plan and roll out the new ERP system. So we knew we needed to create a structure of teams, and those teams include the following. Executive sponsor. We have an executive sponsor of the project. An executive sponsor is the top level individual within an organization who takes on a leadership role in supporting a specific project. Our executive sponsor is County Manager Chris Corpola. Steering Committee. A steering committee is a group of individuals assembled to provide guidance, oversight, and strategic direction for a specific project or initiative within an organization. They will be department heads, and their departments play important roles. Project Manager. A project manager is an individual responsible for planning, executing, and overseeing a specific project from its initiation to completion. Project managers play a crucial role in ensuring that projects are delivered on time, within budget, and in accordance with the defined scope and quality standards. Pit crews. Now this is where we want you. Our pit crews will consist of a group of subject matter experts. In other words, staff who will use the ERP system every day. They will create documentation, develop policy recommendations, identify improvements, develop and test final processes, and assist with training. They are the real heroes of the project. Project team. This group will include a pit lead from each pit crew. They'll be the voice of the pit crew when presenting recommendations to the steering committee. They'll provide status to the project manager, and they'll have a strong understanding of the pit crew processes. I'm sure you're wondering what these pit crews are. Well, we've determined there'll be 7 pit crews. They include accounting, projects and grants, treasury and billing, procurement, budget, assets, human resources and benefits, time attendance, and payroll. If you'd like to join one of these pit crews, please fill out the I Want to Join a Pit Crew application. It's located on the employee portal under the news section, as well as the ERP project page. Thank you for tuning in to this exciting announcement about our upcoming ERP project. As we embark on this journey, we invite each and every one of you to be a part of our pit crew for success. Just like a pit crew in a race, our success depends on seamless coordination and collaboration of every team member. Your skills, dedication, and enthusiasm are the driving force that will propel us forward. Thanks again.
So if we asked, we were talking about this morning about, sorry, trying to figure out where my, if we asked staff to tell us what did or didn't work in our last ERP implementation, first of all, we would have less than half of the staff that we had when we started to when we did the implementation in 2015 and 2016 because of staff turnover and changes. But there's a wide variety of reasoning why people have had frustrations with our current system. So I think we could analyze what worked and what more so what probably didn't work so well with our implementation of our current system, SAP. But the bottom line to it is that at this point in time, in my estimation, to quote, I wrote his name down. Hold on. Gene Kranz from Apollo 13. Failure is not an option. So to accomplish that and have it be a successful implementation, it really is our hope, and the video illustrated, it really is our hope to involve kind of as many people as we can, coordinate, coming together to provide input and participation, and really make it a product that we all own, not just finance, not just timekeeping, but everybody owns. And it made me think of, sorry to add you another quote, but I just heard this the other day in a video and I looked it up and it was authentic. But it says, during a visit to NASA Space Center in 1962, President Kennedy noticed a janitor carrying a broom. He interrupted his tour, walked over to the man and said, "Hi, I'm Jack Kennedy. What are you doing?" And the janitor responded, "I'm helping put a man on the moon, Mr. President." So the goal would be that we're involving people in the ultimate success of the project. So to that end, one of the recommendations that came out of an ERP implementation planning workshop that some members of staff attended was that you, if at all possible, utilize internal talent for your project management. They know your system, they know your people, they know your processes, or they can learn them quickly. Obviously, everyone has real life full-time jobs. And so we were also had to sort out who might have the ability to move functions enough in order to take on that project management role, and how we might be able to backfill some of their time that they would typically be doing their regular job as they were filling in as a project manager. So you see in the resolution, our plan for that would be to bring Katie Gallagher on board as our project manager. And to do that, Carrie Quilling would then work out of class in the time as the kind of backfill to KT in the health department. And then there is also an administrative program support person by the name of Tiffany Taggart, who has actually some project management experience at UW Stout, but who will be able to lend some supports to KT to do that. In order to accomplish all of that, the resolution proposes paying all of those people out of class for the next, probably what will end up to be the 2 years, but at least for the 2024 to get us started. And I know that a question might be, well, why didn't we budget this for 2024? At the ERP implementation. So we were, I don't want to say muddling along, because I think it was a little bit more thoughtful than muddling along, but we went through the last year sort of conceptualizing what this was all going to look like. But it was only after Dan, Dunbar, Beata, Haug, Dustin, Bender, and Sarah Stabino attended the ERP implementation training and with the Government Finance Officers Association, that we really realized that, one, we were on target, but we actually could have a structure for how we were going to move forward. And that happened at the end of November. So we've made actually accomplished a ton of things since they came back from that training in the last month. But so the proposal is that we would launch into full-blown planning. There is a timeline that's been established. It would let an RFP roughly midsummer of 2024 with a targeted implementation day of midsummer of 2025. Some of the feedback that we've received is that some of the better implementation projects happen mid-year instead of trying to smash them in at the beginning of a year when you're ending the year before, starting a new year, finishing budget, all of those sorts of things. And there's a bit of a gap of time in there where you can actually do this and perhaps do it better than you would be able to at the beginning of a year. So one last thing, the current processes do allow for, ordinance does allow for us to pay someone out of class 3 months. Probably doesn't need to be a resolution that goes all the way through the system, but it felt like a really good opportunity both to lay out a backdrop for the project, to be transparent about what the front end kind of cost at this point is in terms of the project management piece, and to, again, bring on board as many people as we can into understanding what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So that's, so I moved forward with a resolution to approve that out of class I would recommend that we take through the entire board so everyone understands what's happening.
Okay, thank you. And that is anticipated cost is at just over $19,000. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, one last thing I would say. I don't know that this will be the last of the cost that you will see. However, what we're trying to do is very strategic about that, and really look at how we can utilize internal talent and shift things and do as many things as we can to utilize what we have before so we don't have a full laid out budget, but that will be kind of one of the parts of the process.
Okay. Okay. I guess I would agree, because otherwise it says consultant request, and we know what that costs. So, anyone care to make a motion? And this is just on this out of class pay for the 3 individuals that Chris mentioned. Anyone care to move? Okay, Mr. Bauer and Mr. Leno, second. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please
I
say.
do.
Steve, a question.
Oh,
I may.
I'm sorry, Tim, go ahead.
All right, I'm just, I've been around long enough to remember Phoenix and some of the other nightmare issues that we had, and I think that this is a really good idea to get as many employees involved, since they're the ones gonna have to use it. That's an excellent idea. But I am not a techie person, so we'll leave it up to the techies in our area here to make these decisions. But I think including people and having them part of the decision and being able to look at their, integral areas that they have themselves and to see how it'll affect their day-to-day lives. Because we lost a lot of employees on the last round of this, and I really don't want to see that. That's all. So I think this is a wise decision.
Thank you, Tim. I do too. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
No one opposed, then. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Appreciate that. And good luck to the team that has stepped forward, and I think they'll got a possibility of certainly making this round much better than our last round. Okay, an ordinance amendment to Chapter 5, creating a county manager position. And you want to speak to that one again, Chris? Go ahead.
Actually, the chapter 5 is titled creating a county manager position. So it's really the amendment to that ordinance. And I did include a staff report, just kind of with the proposed plan for that, but I would defer to Nick to speak to the ordinance revision.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. I passed it already. Here it is. So the county board approved, beginning in 2024, approved a work assignment, not a position, but a work assignment for assistant county manager. It's anticipated that this would be additional duties that are assigned to an employee of the county, a department manager, department head, in order to provide assistance to the county manager for coverage of meetings, policy development, participation in outside organizations, or anything else that augments or increases the efficiency of the county manager office. And so these amendments create the language that that establishes the work assignment. So this adds the language that creates the work assignment, and it also has a modification up for the past, I don't know how many years, 25 or 30 years, the Corporation Council has been designated to act as county manager in the event that the county manager is unavailable to perform his or her duties. This changes that from Corporation Council to assistant county manager. So it would be presumptive that whoever takes on these additional work assignments, if the county manager were unexpectedly unavailable to get something, to do something, then the person who has the work assignment of assistant county manager would be automatically empowered to act as an interim county manager until the county manager became available, or in the case of vacancy, until the position was filled. So that's basically what it does. And then so you can see in the draft ordinance, section 2 has 2 parts in it: creating the work assignment and then designating the county manager as the appointing authority, establishing an indefinite term for that work assignment, and then also that it's subject to annual satisfactory performance reviews.
Question, just with your last information there. So the assignment of county manager shall appointed by the county manager in an indefinite term, which I understand. Obviously, you don't want it to be a 2-year thing and keep replacing them. But, and then of course, subject to, like you say, satisfactory performance. Is that any way impair? I don't think that it will, but anyway, impair a judgment by other people that person should at least not be the assistant county manager anymore. I would say not necessarily firing capability. I'm just talking about someone would say, I don't think that was the best choice, and
I don't think it impairs the authority of the county manager to, I guess, release someone from that additional responsibility from that assignment. All of the employees, including the department heads, are at-will employees.
Okay.
And this is a work assignment.
Yeah.
That is, it's in the discretion of the county manager to appoint the work assignment. So I don't think it impairs.
Yeah, and I didn't think of what, but I like the fact that, yes, you say it's indefinite, but then that by saying it's indefinite doesn't mean automatically permanent no matter what. Okay.
Correct. They are not the same thing. It's not for a permanent term or for, a lifetime appointment or during good behavior like federal courts. It's an appointment until it's not anymore.
I think the other thing that it does allow for, and I think I spoke to this earlier on as this was, the concept was being developed. What it does allow for is sort of reconsideration as well. So if I were to retire or win the lottery and go to Fiji, more like, yeah, I'm going to retire. If I retire and then the assistant county manager position is in place and that person steps into the role of county manager, they can make a decision about whether or not there's a need for an assistant or not. If they stay in that role, if those adjunct responsibilities are attached to that role, it really creates that, in my mind, that's sort of that seamless transition. It's that institutional knowledge that continues, history that continues through as a new person accepts that role. So I think it's kind of a win-win either way. Is setting it up for success for the next county manager.
Any other questions, Tim?
Yeah,
Bob?
I got a question. And the assistant county manager can't make it, and the manager's already gone because the assistants are. Now, the corporate counsel was the one that did that, but the way it's wrote here that the designee of a county board would step in. Wouldn't it be better for the corporate counsel to step back in like he was before, as opposed to county board member? That probably is not in the.
I mean, that's still a possibility under
The way it's
under
wrote
this
up, though, it goes
language.
to county board, though, right?
Well, if let's say the county manager wins the Powerball, which I think no one did, and it's over $700 million now. But if she did win the Powerball and said, I'm not working here anymore and left, if the assistant county manager is unavailable to step in and fulfill duties, on an interim basis, then the county board could designate someone to act as temporary county manager to fill in. This isn't intended to be a succession where if the county manager goes, then the assistant is by right the next county manager. It's not a succession. It's just someone to help while the county manager, is working, and to step in on a temporary basis until a decision is made about who will fill the position. It's really rare that you need to be too deep. I've been the corporation counsel for 10 years, and during that entire time, last summer was the only, in 2022, was the only time where I was really called upon for several months to act as the county manager. Prior to that, it was, come down to the office and sign something really important while Gene Smith is on vacation, or something like that, up until 2022, I would say it was 15 minutes or less that I had to act as county manager. And so I don't really foresee it to be a large problem. It's not a problem when one is gone, but if one is gone and then the other one is unavailable, the county board has the ability to designate someone to do it, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah. So you're saying is if it became a prolonged thing, or like you're saying, a permanent thing, we wouldn't, obviously the assistant county manager would at that point be in charge. However, the county board would have the power to come along and say, okay, let's appoint corporate counsel to be temporary county manager, leave the assistant still in place until we hire a permanent.
I think that's true.
You can still do that.
It's not a likely, scenario to occur, but I think that's true. The truth is county governments are doing more and more, and they're doing it more efficiently, and so employees are busy. It may it could perhaps be the case that whoever it is, while being an effective assistant county manager, isn't able to take on the full role, for whatever reason. It's the county board's prerogative to, in recognizing that, to make other arrangements. There are consultants. There are, contractors, retired county administrators, retired county executives who do this work. They help counties out, they help cities out, they help, all levels of government out if they have a vacancy where they need somebody who's experienced and knows who to talk to and what to do in all the situations. So I think the bases are covered. Okay. That's my opinion anyway.
I was just going to add, I think that the language, Supervisor Bauer, is written specifically to allow any potential series of things that might occur. So for instance, as well as the county manager might at some point in time retire, so might the corporation counsel. And if you were 1 month into a new corporation counsel, you might not want that, to that person to have to assume the responsibilities of county manager. So this just left it broad enough that it could be up to the board to decide based on circumstances who'd be the best fit.
Good explanation. Thank you.
Yes,
That's right. Yep.
Appreciate that. Good thoughts. Mr. Lena.
Yeah, I've got just a couple of questions as I was reading this, and I just thought to myself, how many other counties kind of have this smoother transition plan in effect at this time, or are we breaking new ground? Are you, if we're even aware of that?
So we have done a fair amount of research. It's relatively common we're probably on the smaller size of counties, but not alone. When I think about some of the counties that do have assistant county administrators or county managers, but most of the time what happens is that it's, instead of it being a set of adjunct responsibilities onto an existing department head or a senior manager, it is a role that then oversees part of county operations. So it's a bit of semantics, but usually what would happen is you'd have like an assistant county administrator or administrators or managers, and they would oversee like these 4 departments or these 4 activities as in their role. And so this is a little bit of an unusual to attach it as a set of like as Corporation Counsel indicated, kind of a adjunct or set of job responsibilities, assigned responsibilities. But it also
So-
makes it more cost effective, honestly, to
Okay.
do it that way.
So you're, just so that I'm kind of clear on this, is you're really looking at adding the responsibility to a department head at this time? Or is this somebody,
Yes.
a new hire?
Nope, a department head. Originally,
current
if you recall back in
department-
the beginning of the budget process, I did propose it as its own standalone position with the idea that it would be like I indicated, that position might have a whole set of kind of oversight to whatever that was decided. But from a cost effective standpoint, it's an expensive option. And given what I think what is conceptualized as a set of responsibilities that would go with this. Some of it is just that splitting up some of the attending of committee meetings, just because of the number of them that occur, particularly in the evening. But also just being able to take on, the whole SAP project or ERP replacement project, while it held a project manager, you really want, again, failure is not an option. And so you really want to know that either I have the time or the assistant has the time to just shepherd that process and make sure it's all going well. And so, yeah, so it's really, that's really kind of the ultimate goal. Now, what I would say is, having been in a position in which there was fairly purposeful, similar succession planning in the Department of Human Services, it worked well to orient a number of individuals to how to continue on once your leadership changed. And and that's a good way to do it, personally.
Yeah, well, I certainly understand the smooth transition and continuity idea. That's certainly something that's there. How soon would we need to have this done? Is this something done in the year, done in 6 months? What's the timeline that you're kind of thinking about?
Yep. So I'm thinking that this would, it's here today. This was this ordinance change. It would go to the executive committee and the county board for a first reading in January. Would have a second reading in February, and then if adopted, then we could, as I've said, probably solicit letters of interest from any of the existing leadership that might be interested in this role and move forward, and proposed in the staff report sort of who would be a part of that hiring process: the county board chair, the assistant county, or the vice chair, the chair of the committee on administration. That would be a part of, while it's ultimately it is a county manager appointment, it's also such a critical position for a wide variety of reasons, that having a bunch of voices in the process of making that job responsibility appointment seems like a wise thing to do.
Yeah, I certainly agree there. I think we'll be lucky to pull that off by that March date.
I think you're right, but hey, we're gonna shoot for the moon.
Okay, all right, that's all that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Leon, and everyone else. Mr. Bauer, do you have anything for us? All right, so what we want to do is pass this on to the executive committee. So I guess what we're approving today would be to pass it on to the executive committee for their consideration, being it's an ordinance change. Anyone care to make that motion to pass it forward? All right, I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no opposed, then thank you very much. And we will do that, and that'll help keep this, keep the ball rolling, so to speak. All right. The next one is a resolution approving the update to employee handbook vacation policy. And if HR could guide us through that, please. Jenny, you're gonna do it yourself? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a draft resolution included in your materials, proposing to make an amendment to the vacation policy that's currently within our Dunn County Employee Handbook. So a little background on the first piece of the changes is in 2022, the vacation policy was previously amended to allow department heads with the ability to offer a bank of vacation up front to new hires upon hire. This was used as a tool to boost recruitment efforts at the time. Of course, definitely starting before 2022, it became a very competitive labor market, and we were seeing ourselves needing to offer those banks of vacation up front in order to get people to accept offers. So at the time, that was approved and implemented into the policy. And upon more recent review and after more than a year in with that added provision, we are proposing to add language to that policy, basically to remove the ability for a new hire to receive a payout of that initial vacation bank if they were to leave employment within the first 12 months of hire. So that's basically, for example, if somebody were to be hired January 5th of 2024 and they were offered 80 hours of vacation and then were to resign on February 1, they only worked here for 1 month and might likely still have this large bank of vacation that they would otherwise be paid out for. So we've recognized that as a concern and just looking to add some language to the policy to alleviate that additional cost. Any questions on that change specifically before I move on to the next?
Supervisor Bauer, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if, let's say they worked a month and they get that 80 hours. What if they were dismissed for whatever reasons, let's say theft or something, do they still get that same thing or would they be?
Sure. Thank you for
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
that. So currently, as it's written now, for employees that are separating employment, they would receive a payout of vacation or sick time benefits only if they are leaving in what's considered good standing. So if an employee is dismissed for disciplinary reasons, typically they would not receive a payout anyway. So this would be a true voluntary resignation with a proper notice type of situation. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Anything else?
Just
Go
on that piece, I do have more.
Go
If I
ahead.
can move on. Okay. So the other, I guess, issue that we've encountered in the last handful of years, I would say since the pandemic specifically, is for certain departments, including 24/7 operations. You've heard me talk a lot about even like the 911 center or 911 dispatchers, a handful of employees that and departments that have not honestly been able to approve vacation requests just in order to keep operations moving. And this is also applicable to, law enforcement and areas like that. So the inability for the vacation requests to be approved has, in not a large number of cases, but does happen where an employee will reach a maximum accrual amount. And then they're not able to accrue any more vacation, and they're basically forfeiting that hourly or that biweekly vacation accrual from that point forward once they hit the max. And that's really at no fault of their own if it's if they're not able to take the vacation due to operational needs. So we have And I will note too, during the pandemic, we did have a temporary policy that was similar to this that allowed administration to process a payout if this was a true situation where an employee was absolutely not able to take the vacation because of the department head deeming that not possible. So this has continued to be an issue, not necessarily surrounding pandemic specifically, but with staffing shortages. And we are requesting to implement that into the regular policy now, with the caveat that it's only for staffing shortages or unusual or specific circumstances. And that would be at the approval of the county manager to authorize that. It's tough to know what the fiscal impact of this would be, but I can tell you in any sort of process for considering approval by the county manager, the budget of that department would be reviewed at that time. And if they were not able to absorb that cost, then there would be further steps taken to request, contingency fund or something of that sort if it was not a cost that was able to be absorbed within that fiscal year.
Which would be highly unlikely because the most likely reason why they're unable to take vacation is because they're understaffed.
Yeah.
Which means we're underspending on the salary side anyway. And this would just be recognition of those people that are simply unable to take time off because there isn't anyone to fill their position.
Yes.
And I don't see it in the language here, but but this would become automatic. Is that correct? So in other words, and then how much and I guess just carrying on the scenario, I'm here and I've got 5 weeks vacation coming and I request to go 1st of June to go fishing. And at 1st of June comes up, my department head says, sorry, I can't let you go. Just, can't. We're down to employee, whatever the case. So 10th of June is my date that I've got to use it up. So that we just, I guess I'm going to say, are we just going to pay them 1 week or how much? I guess how much we determine that we're going to pay them at that point is my question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a little bit of case by case, that would be involved in the county manager authorizing that, but the intention is for it to be one time and then for there to be careful planning by the department head and in working with us in HR on, okay, your staff are not able to take their vacation. That's a problem. How can we work to address that as the root cause? So it's not intended to be a recurring payment.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's the only thing I think we ran into this back at Walmart just before I left, and because of the language that was developed, if I had applied for 2 weeks, I got a 2-week payout, and I'm going, well, I only want a 1 week payout, and then let it go until it would come up again if that would happen. And so I just remember, this person only asked for 3 days and it came up to that and they couldn't get the 3 days. Well, they got a 3-day payout. But this person had put in for 2 weeks and then oh no, you're going to get 2 weeks of vacation right now. Well, I don't want that big a payout. And that was just the only thing. And I mean, it was the way their language addressed it, but because it said automatically you will receive, so that there wasn't any question that you were going to get it. But it was tied into what you had asked for in terms of vacation. So that was my only question. And
this won't be tied into what an employee asks for. This has to do with what amount of potential accrual of vacation time would be lost if the employee was unable to take leave. So for example, using your example of a 10-day fishing trip, if the employee didn't take vacation, but would only lose 8 hours of accrual, that's the amount that they'd be entitled to request, not a payment for a missed vacation. but only the amount that's in jeopardy because the accrual ceiling has been reached.
Okay, yeah. And so we're not gonna force them to take some long-term because they asked for something long-term or, and at the same time, it'll be determined and, okay. Yeah, I mean, just, something I remember that really became sounded like a good idea and then became a stumbling block, and all of a sudden it kicked in. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Any questions at this point for go ahead. If you got some more for us.
Nope, I was just gonna say, this is a change to employee benefits, so, it's in the form of a resolution and I would request your
And-
consideration and forwarding to the board.
Right.
Also move.
Supervisor Lena, excuse me, yeah, motion he would second.
Yep.
So we have a second by him. All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, opposed, none. Then, thank you. All right, thank you, Jenna and Chris and everyone, Mr. Corp Counsel for helping us out with that. All right.
Just
one next.
one
Go ahead, Mr. Leon.
one quick question. Will this have any determination regarding protective services since they're on a different kind of contract? A union contract? Will this affect that?
Jenna's coming back to answer.
Sorry.
Thanks, Tim.
That is a really good question. And if it is an employee that is under the collective bargaining agreement, we would need to have a discussion with the union and talk about potential implementation of that. So yes, further discussions to come with approval of this policy.
Because I could see this scenario more in protective services than other places.
Yes, and I mean, I can't definitively say that we haven't currently heard of any that have hit their max that are under contract. I would say it's more common actually with like the sergeant staff. They're really training the new deputies, and so those employees aren't specifically under the collective bargaining agreement. So if that were to come up, we would need to have collaboration with the union to make that happen for those 21 employees. And if I may, since you did ask about the union contract, I did provide a really short update in my HR monthly report on that, but just wanted to note that we have in the months of October and November held meetings, collective bargaining meetings with the union, and have arrived at an agreement. Currently, our outside legal counsel is working on implementing those changes that were agreed upon by both parties into the actual contract language itself. So that's where that's at. Once we have that draft ready to go, we will propose that to this committee and then forward to the board. So of course, this is for 2024 effective date, 1/1. Ideally, we would be able to have that draft in front of you as early in 2024 as possible, just to avoid a large, retroactive payroll and things like that. But we are hopeful that we will see a draft in the coming weeks.
We are asking them to do a special meeting.
And Chris is going to ask you to do a special meeting.
Yeah. That's on the agenda. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Anything else? Kim?
No, I'm done.
Okay, good. All right. Supervisor Bauer, okay. All right. Thank you very much. So this is our decision to, again, approve. We have a motion to approve these employee handbook changes with those that have been noted and discussed. Any movement to make a motion on that?
So move.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, we did.
Yep, yep.
Okay, that's right. I'm sorry. We had a question afterwards. My fault. We're good.
I'll resend
All
that.
right. I already done that. Yeah, we don't need to prove Tim's
Okay.
question. All right. Okay. Okay. The legislative agenda 2024. If you'll see there, there's from Rachel Wells, Land Information Officer, a request for the 2024 County Legislative Agenda Edition. Anyone care to address that to us? Or you have any questions about that? Anyone?
Rachel's.
Yeah, would you please? All right, we're gonna hear from Rachel herself. All right.
Hi there, I'm Rachel Wells. I'm the Land Information Officer for Dunn County. There currently is a legislative effort underway to increase funding to the Wisconsin Land Information Program. It is a program run through the Wisconsin Department of Administration that provides funding to counties to support geospatial efforts and land records projects. So each county has a plan where they identify things that are important to have accurate, up to date, and available for the public as it relates to land records. And then there's also statewide strategic initiatives that the county must meet. And so the funding comes from the state for that. The fees and the current funding mechanisms in place for that program were set in 2010. And since then, the needs have kind of grown within that program. And also land information and land records professionals have been asked to do a little bit more as well. So they're currently seeking more support. And so they're within the information that I've provided, there's actually a specific proposal that's now being referenced, but this program is really vital. It makes a lot of vital land records information and geospatial data sets available to the public, our emergency service providers, our residents and landowners. So this would be a substantial win for the county, but it does come with an increase. The legislation as proposed would have an increase in funding or increase in fees through the Register of Deeds office. So Heather Kuhn is here as well. So it is something that would be a fee, that would be an increase. But yeah, it's pretty important program. Are there any questions? Oh, I should mention, it has gone through planning, resources, and development as well, because a lot of the land records, community, and services that are provided do affect the groups within planning, resources, and development. And as I said, it goes, there's a fee increase too that would go through the Register of Deeds office.
Okay. Question. Our approval then are we approving this to go forward to the executive and onto the board, or are we making final approval?
You are approving it to go on to the list of legislative agenda items that'll go to the legislative.
Okay, so we're making that step here.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay. Any questions for Rachel or for registered deeds by anyone? Go ahead, Mr. Bauer.
Is this for all the 23 legislative agenda, or are we doing this one separate as opposed to that one? Because I see it listed different here. Like the judicial land use and all that kind of stuff is, all the.
This is just this.
Portion of it?
Yes, I gave you the entire legislative agenda from last year just as a reference as to what
Okay.
was on there, but this would then be in addition to that, and it comes to you as a community administration from an administration department.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Also move.
All right.
I'll
right.
second.
And all right, motion by Supervisor Bauer, seconded by Supervisor Leno to move this forward and I add it to our legislative agenda, hoping that we can have our state make those changes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Hearing none, unanimous approval. There are no opposed. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your consideration.
You bet. Good luck. I hope we have good luck with that. Okay. resolution approving collective bargaining agreement 2024-6, and that is going to be pushed forward. Is that correct?
So, yeah, so I realized as I looked at this that I did take it off of the agenda. I am asking you, under the next agenda item to, consider a special virtual meeting sometime between January 8th and 10th, before 3 PM on the 10th, because that's the executive committee or the legislative committee, legislative and then executive committee. So what we would do is hope to have the final agreement by then, have you hold a virtual meeting to review, approve it, forward it. I will have noticed it for exec at that point in time, so it can continue to move forward to the county board the next week.
Okay.
If for some reason we don't have it by that date, then we would just cancel that meeting. But at this point in time, I would anticipate we should be able to have it, and then we can keep it moving forward.
Okay. So for you guys, or on attendance, 8th is Monday, correct?
Yes.
9th Tuesday, of course, 10th Wednesday of that week in January. Any requests or suggestions or problems? One date better than the others?
I got a meeting all day on Monday, the 8th, so I would be booked.
Okay. All right. Tuesday, the 9th. How about you, Tim?
I really, I'm not near my calendar right this second, but as far as I can
Okay.
tell you, I guess I'm okay,
All right. And so time of the day, this would be virtual. 3:30 could be 4 o'clock, maybe something like that. Is there any recommendation from anybody as far as time or staff?
Are there competing, committee meetings or something like that in the afternoon sometime on Tuesday?
I don't think so. I think I looked at that when I proposed the dates, but let me just take a real quick look. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing yet.
Okay. All right. How about Tuesday? I'm just gonna recommend that we'll kick it around if we need to, but how about is 4 o'clock too late? I would anticipate that this is gonna be quite
5 minutes.
short.
Yep.
Right? Go ahead.
She said before.
4-3 the last day.
Well, on the last day before 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if we
There
did it
is
on Tuesday, it could be later.
There is a community resources and tourism at 4:30 on the 9th. So if it was before that.
Okay, so maybe 3:30 on Tuesday. How's that sound? Tim, is that okay? If it was 3:30 on Tuesday, the 9th?
Fine.
All right. All
We'll
right.
get an email on it, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and an invitation because we'll do it via Zoom. So you won't have to leave your humble abode if you don't need to. Might be a snowstorm.
Hobble.
All right, so approximately at this point, tentatively scheduled for 3:30 Tuesday, the 9th of January. Is that okay with everyone? All right.
Sure.
Okay, now there's another request in here, where is it? Why I scrolled too fast, I'm sorry. For the approval of moving forward, is that is that a request or just information?
So actually, that would have originally been it would have, had it been completed, I would have had asked you to take action
Okay,
on that. But at this point in time, it just would be,
just,
what's the official term, Nick, when nothing's gonna happen? Moot?
Nothing
If
burger.
it's agenda,
there you go,
postponed.
or tabled, whatever.
Yeah.
Table the information till next. Okay, that's fine. All right. So we won't even have to worry about it. We'll just let it go. Anything else? So again, our next meeting will, at this point, will be a virtual meeting scheduled for 3:30 Tuesday, the 9th. Do we cover everything needed covering? I think so. As far as my agenda, we did. All right. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Let's talk about that. Yeah, regular meeting would still take place the fourth Thursday, which is, what was that? Okay, January 25th at 3 o'clock here, room 54. Okay, so that does not affect that regular meeting. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Staff, thank you for being here. Thank you for your answers and Jenna, your presentations, and Happy New Year to all. Celebrate